In 1950, in the second volume of the Paris Reports on African Societies, information was published that started a general interest in an ancient tribe. The authors of this information were two French scholars, Professor Marcel Griaule and Professor Germaine Dieterlen. The story of this report, which still amazes scientists today, began 20 years earlier in 1931, when the famous French ethnographer, Professor Griaule, came across the Dogon. Captivated by their secrecy and profound knowledge of the cosmos and the universe, he spent some time among them to gain their trust. When they decided to reveal their secret knowledge to him, an elder named Ogotameli communicated with the Frenchman for 32 days. During this period, he showed maps of the starry heavens engraved on stones. He spoke very accurately of the structure of the solar system, the existence of the satellites of Jupiter, the rings of Saturn, and others. Many of the things shared with Griaule by the elder have been subsequently revealed by scientists. Referring to ancient sources, in 1976, Robert Temple, a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of England, summarized that the Dogon had an intimate knowledge of Sirius for several thousand years. The phenomenon has been investigated by scientific popularizers such as Carl Sagan, Ian Ridpath, James Oberg, and Ronald Story, admitting the possibility that the Dogon adopted their cosmic knowledge from European travelers in the last 150 years. But in a BBC television interview, Professor Germaine Dieterlen pointed out that a number of astronomical data held by Aborigines in past centuries were unknown to Western scientists until the 20th century, referring to ancient drawings of the constellation Sirius created by the ancestors of the Dogon. But even if we accept the thesis that the astronomical knowledge of the Dogon has ancient origins, how was it acquired? How could a people have mastered the science of the stars without any optical instruments? The Dogon answer to this question is simple. The knowledge of Sirius was given to their ancestors by the extraterrestrial amphibians Homo, who came from the region of the star Po Tolo. In the African country of the Republic of Mali, there is a small tribe that, thanks to its isolation, has remained untouched by the outside world over the years. The inhabitants of this region continue to lead a life unchanged for centuries, traditionally engaged in agriculture, animal husbandry, blacksmithing, and pottery making. They have a surprisingly extensive knowledge of space, although they do not have any specialized equipment for this purpose. The Dogon are thought to have inhabited these lands since 1300 BC. According to historical records, their ancestors lived in the Upper Niger Basin, in the area of present-day Sudan, until the 9th to 10th centuries BC. During their migration to the new lands, they gradually pushed out the previous inhabitants, adopting some aspects of their culture, including their language. Today, the population of the tribe reaches about 300,000. The people of the tribe build their homes in the foothills of the mountains using clay, and their roofs are flat. In their settlements, the dwellings touch wall to wall. An interesting feature is the men's houses, characterized by their extremely low roofs. They are designed so that in the event of a dispute, the men cannot stand upright at their full height. In addition to these, special women's houses are found outside the settlement boundaries, where women retreat during their menstruation. A considerable minority of the Dogon professes Islam, and some have been converted to Christianity by missionaries. Most, however, profess animism, incorporating the ancestral spirit of Homo, with its festivals and belief in Sirius. Thus, they continue to preserve and transmit through the generations their knowledge of the cosmos and world order. From here on, the curious explorers begin the interesting part. The Dogon not only had knowledge of space, they had maps and accurate data on planets long before we suspected their existence. Just imagine the following picture. An African tribe performing a ritual on a specific period associated with the cyclical movement of a planet, the existence of which even the greatest minds in the world do not suspect. Funny, isn't it? Well, as fun as it is also a fact. because that is exactly the case with the Dogon tribe. They describe the universe as infinite but measurable, and full of many yalo ulo, or star systems, including the one containing our Sun. Their knowledge of the universe also includes claims that most of it is part of the outer star system, while closer to Earth lies the inner star system. The stars included in the inner system have an effect on life on Earth and play an important role in human history, including not only Sirius, but also Orion, Pleiades, and others. The Dogon have detailed knowledge of the constellation Canis Major, Big Dog, that has been passed down through time from one generation to the next. With regard to the star Sirius, for example, although it is only 21 times brighter than our Sun, and there are stars of much greater power than it, from Earth, it is perceived as the brightest of all the stars in the sky because of its proximity, which is only 8.5 light-years from us. In close proximity to Sirius is the collapsed star Sirius B. In a letter dated August 10, 1844, the German astronomer Friedrich Wilhelm Bessel concluded from changes in Sirius's proper motion that it had an invisible companion. Almost 20 years later, on 31st January 1862, the American astronomer and telescope maker Alvin Graham Clark first observed the faint satellite we now call Sirius B. However, definitive proof of its existence did not come until 1970, when it was photographed for the first time. Identifying Sirius B proved to be a challenge, as this compact star emits very little light and is dimmed by the brilliance of Sirius, which is 10,000 times brighter. However, the Dogon had surprisingly accurate information about the orbits and densities of these stars long before they were documented by modern astronomers. The tribe associates the origin of life with the star Sirius B, which they call the Po-Tolo, or seed star. According to them, creation started from there to us. Naturally, many of you will find this hard to believe, but we must pay particular attention to one fact. The Dogon knew of Sirius B long before its scientific discovery, including its high density and small size, which they explain by the existence of sagala, an extremely dense metal unknown on Earth. They also understand the complex elliptical orbit that Sirius and Sirius B form. This knowledge is even recorded in stone star charts dating back more than 5 centuries. Well, if you haven't been blown away by now, then you have yet to be, especially in just a minute when we get to the description of these visitors. Before that, though, we continue with something even more interesting. The Dogon claim that Sirius B has an orbital cycle of 50 years relative to Sirius. Well, guess what? It was only recently confirmed by astronomers that this cycle is 50 years and 15 days. They also believe that Sirius B rotates on its axis in a time equal to 1 solar year, a detail for which modern science still has no data. Furthermore, the Dogons speculate about the existence of a third body, called by them Ema-Iya, which could be a small star with a planet or a large planet with a satellite. Astronomers call this supposed body Sirius C, although there is no scientific evidence for it at this time. Much of what the Dogon already know received official recognition only in the 20th century. The most interesting question is how people with such a standard of living could have obtained such knowledge without using any kind of measuring or magnifying equipment. Approximately 5,500 years ago, the Homo arrived from the constellation Sirius in a huge galactic transport vessel named by the Dogon Pelu Tolo, or Star of the 10th Moon. Homo's ship was spiraling towards Earth. Around it flashed lightsabers, and the noise it made was unheard of among the tribe. When the vessel touched the ground, it made several bounces and only then came to a stop. After the dust cleared, there was a new star in the night sky. Presumably, this was the mothership of the visitors. Actually, now you'll say that's a common sight in science fiction movies, but we'll take you back to 1969, when we humans use the same strategy of having only the lunar module land on the moon and the landers stay in orbit. In the language of the Dogon, homo means connected to water, and for whom the most important thing is to drink. On rock images created by the ancestors of the Dogon, the homo are represented as creatures combining features of man and lizard, reminiscent of the amphibian demigod Oans, as well as the Babylonian demon Oani, who are depicted with fishtails. These similarities to mythological figures from other ancient civilizations that existed during the migration of the Dogon ancestors raise many questions. The descriptions of Homo bear a remarkable resemblance to the Akkadian amphibian Ee, the Sumerian god Enki, and the Egyptian goddess Isis, depicted as a siren in religious art. According to ancient lore, which we have already examined many times, it was from these creatures that human civilization began, presenting themselves as key figures in the mythology and cultural heritage of various peoples. Following this trail, we looked for similarities in other cultures, and were surprised. Yes, there are traces of these visitors in more ancient cultures, also pointed to as the cradle of civilization. In ancient Egypt, sages praised the star Sirius, which was associated with the goddess Isis. The temple at Dendera was erected in her honor, and so designed that on New Year's Day, the rays of Sirius would penetrate through a specially created opening directly into the interior of the sacred chapel. From here we again draw a parallel that takes us back to where we started, with the Dogon. The temple at Dendera and what goes on inside is very reminiscent of a ceremony performed by an ancient tribe called the Squeeze. It takes place once every 6 decades when Sirius is visible through a small opening in one of the cliffs near the settlement of Yugodogoro. The ceremony lasts a full 5 years and is timed to a specific point in Sirius's orbit. During this period, the Dogon are initiated into the knowledge and traditions of their tribe. They participate in a complex sequence of dances performed by men of the tribe wearing unique masks that embody the unbridled power of nature, demonstrating the deep connections between the cosmos, nature, and human culture. In fact, this is another culture that speaks to the unearthly origins of humans. It is strange how this capsulated tribe has legends, stories, and knowledge that overlap with what the ancient Sumerians recorded. Well, their visitors come from the very distant planet Nibiru, but the similarities are striking. The Dogon are adamant that the alien ancestors will surely return, but this time they will be in human form. What do you think? Deepen your adventure by watching our playlist. And if you want more, just play the next episode that comes up as a suggestion to your left.